Welcome to our latest General d'Armée Napoleonic game. It's a sunny Sunday morning. Charlie is doing a bit of maths homework in the corner of the table, and we're playing the Prussians again. We're playing a small scenario today, so I can get on with painting my Russo-German Legion. We're doing the action at Heppignies. So I hope you enjoy this little game. This is a small skirmish that took place after the French had crossed the Sambre at Charleroi. And before the action at Gilly, which is a scenario that you may have seen is in one of the General d'Armée's scenario books. So here we have General Steinmetz approaching Goisselle, and he realises the French are threatening to cut him off. So he's directed the 2nd Battalion of Westphalian Landwehr here to march against the French left flank and to avert the French attention from him and check their advance. He continues his retreat towards Heppignies and carries that through successfully, protected by the 6th Lancers and the 1st Silesian Hussars. And he reaches Heppignies without any losses, although he's pursued by General Girard at the head of the French 7th Division of the 2nd Corps, as Rye continues his advance along the Brussels road. Heppignies was already occupied by the 2nd and 3rd Battalions, these two battalions you can see on the table represented here, of the Prussian 12th Regiment. And with this increase in strength, Steinmetz redeployed and sought to hold off Girard for an hour or so the rest of the retreat can take place unhindered. Girard attempts to force the place, having previously occupied a village called Bansart. So we'll see how this combat goes. It's really just a holding action for the Prussians, and we'll see what they can do to hold off the French 7th Division for an hour or so. Okay, so the Prussians have lost initiative this turn. They have activated their cavalry brigade with a reroll, and the French have activated both their brigades on the 7th Division, and they've put infantry assault on the larger of their two brigades. 7th Division is quite imbalanced. We've got them sitting down here on the windowsill. We've got the divisional artillery and a large brigade, 3 light battalions and 2 line battalions in that brigade. And in the 2nd brigade, much smaller, only 2 light battalions and 1 line battalion. So we'll play these all as line troops for the French. And Prussians reportedly fought all pretty well here. So we'll put the Landwehr there as reservists, and we'll do the 12th Brigade as line troops. And the Landwehr cavalry again will be reservists, and the Hussars will be line for Charlie. Alright, so Charlie's taking on the Prussians today. Let's see if he can hold off. He's simply got to do a holding action for an hour and a half. So we'll probably play this for 6 turns. Okay, so at the end of the first turn, the right-hand stronger French brigade has moved onto the table. Its line battalions are looking to do a flanking move, potentially through that rough terrain to outflank the Prussian position, and its light infantry regiment in this brigade is advancing straight up the road towards the hedge line that the Prussians are defending. Charlie's been quite aggressive. He's moved his Hussars forward and his Lancers forward, so these will certainly pose a threat to the 2nd French Brigade that's moving on here. The French moved first, so Charlie has had the advantage of going second here. He also looks like he's doing something radical with his line battalion that were lining the hedge, so we'll see what he's got in mind with those shortly. All right, let's roll for ADCs in... I know there will be some skirmisher fire. There'll be some skirmisher fire probably here in the centre. Yeah. So we'll do the skirmisher fire and then we'll be on with turn 2. Right, so in turn 2, Charlie's got the initiative, which is good for him, but unfortunately his cavalry brigade has gone hesitant. But it will have the effect of pinning the French, at least on this left phalanx, because I'm going to have to go into square with all that cavalry threatening me. Over on the centre, it looks like the French will push forward. All right, let's do movement for turn 2. Okay, so we've got some radical redeployment of the Prussian positions going on. They're looking to move across to offset this flanking assault by the French line regiment down here. His reservists are moving across the battlefield by the look of things, and he's using his cavalry to pin the French. We've had to form this brigade into square. The front 2 battalions are both in square now, so they'll be able to inch forward but not really make much contribution. In the centre, the French forces continue their advance towards the Prussian lines, all right, let's get on with firing in turn 2. Prussians go first. Okay, so we saw some charges. These 2 French columns, I need 2 casualty dice because they both charged through the hedge line, Charlie, so they both took a casualty for doing that. They charged Charlie's Prussian skirmisher screen and pushed it back. And then in the subsequent movement phase, the French skirmisher screen has pushed forward again. These French right-hand columns are now going through the broken ground or skirting around the edge of the broken ground. Charlie's realigned his Landwehr and they will be doing an inferior volley. Otherwise, his other battalions are continuing to form up down here. All right, Charlie, let's do the inferior volley from the Landwehr. What do you get?
7, I'll just be nothing with it.
7 might be half a casualty. Let's just have a check.
Only artillery can do half casualty on.
Do they? Okay, so 7 does 1 casualty on that French column. All right, you do get a bonus, don't you, for firing at column, but it's at 3 inches, so you know no casualties for that. All right, okay, we'll now do some French skirmisher fire. Okay, so there's a bunch of firing down here. The French skirmishers, being in cover, can fire against Charlie's cavalry, so they caused a casualty. And Charlie being within 3 inches of that square, which formed last... Did it form last turn or it formed this turn?
Last turn.
Formed last turn, so that is just a standard volley but at half effect. That also caused 1 casualty in a discipline test. So Charlie's hussars have now taken 4 casualties and gone unformed. Otherwise in the centre, just a couple of casualties from skirmisher fire. And that's it for the end of turn 3. Let's kick on with turn 4. Okay, so charge phase. French are going for it. So this right-hand line infantry regiment has charged the Landwehr. The light battalion that was over the wall and charged the skirmishers last time has also charged the Landwehr. This will be a close column attack, so Charlie will get a bunch of bonuses because the French really don't have space to deploy. They do, hang on Charlie, they do have 2 supports though, supporting their attack. This column here couldn't reach the reservists, so hasn't been able to charge. Charlie, before we do anything more, any charges down here for you?
No.
Okay, and none for me. All right, so it'll first be defensive fire for the Landwehr. We'll come back with the modifier. All right, really this does show the challenges with doing close column assaults, but I think it's inevitable for the French here. We really want to push this attack. So Charlie will get 3 combat dice as a bonus, and then his normal inferior volley being... Oh no, he's reservist, isn't it? So it'll be a standard volley, not an inferior volley. What are you rolling for, Charlie? Are you rolling the volley first?
Yeah.
Okay, so standard volley, what do you get?
6.
So standard volley at 6 is 1 casualty, and then 3... No, don't mark it up yet. And then 3 casualty dice. Roll your 3 casualty dice.
2.
2 more, okay. So another one on the attacking one, and that'll be 1 casualty on one of the supports as well. All right, so Charlie caused how many casualties? You caused 1 with the plain volley, and then 2 extra with the casualty dice. Then these columns, because they were charging across the stream, Charlie pointed out, are going across difficult terrain, and they haven't slowed down for that, so they had to take an extra casualty for that. That won't count to the charge result, but does take them both to 3 casualties. So both of those 2 battalions have taken 2... the right-hand one, one of them's taken 1, I think one of them's taken 2 casualties, but we'll just check that, and we'll do the charge results now. So Charlie's rolled a 9, which takes him up to a 10 with his attached general. I've rolled an 8 for this one. -1 for the casualties, +1 for the general, so they stay on an 8. And I've rolled a 6 for this one with no adjustments. So I'm going to take my reroll on this one first. I just want to check. There's no adjustments for massed columns, are there? No. Okay, so we'll take a reroll on this one. That was a 3 and a 3, so they're exactly the same. And we'll reroll a 2 here as well. A 2 and a 3, that doesn't get much better. So my best result is a 9 with no modifiers.
I get a 10, so I win by 1.
10, so you win by 1.
You stand and volley.
So I attacker volleys, and if he loses, he goes unformed. So both my columns go unformed, Charlie, and I do 2 volleys. So that'll be 2 combat dice, and I cause 1 casualty on your line of Landwehr. So the Prussians are doing well here. Okay, turn 5. Charlie has nearly hung on for long enough to blunt this French attack and allow the rest of the Prussian forces to flee. He's voluntarily retired his hussars to take them from being chopped up by the fire from the skirmishers and the French squares. He's moved his lancers round, however, to continue to pin the French squares, which in turn have edged forward somewhat. They have to take a discipline test if they move with cavalry within 9 inches, but Charlie wasn't at the start of their move. So they edged forward slightly. Over here in the centre, we've got the disrupted French attack, which is sort of blocking much of this central position. But the Prussians will take another charge from the French, I expect, this turn.
No, because they're unformed, they can't.
Yeah, but these other 2 battalions down here can take the attack forward. Charlie said I'm sure they will. All right, Charlie, you've got initiative. Any charges for you?
No.
All right. The French will indeed charge with at least one of these battalions. Right, so as Charlie says, I can't charge here because these battalions are unformed, but I have charged with this battalion here. It took another further casualty for charging through the river. Charlie will now do a standard defensive volley. He rolls a 6, which is 1 casualty on them. All right, and we'll now do the charge results. Charlie will have 1 reroll from his supporting battalion that's not already committed to combat. All right, hey, Charlie just corrected me. Charlie does have 2 supports. He doesn't get defensive fire from the landwehr because they do have a target to their front. But we both get a support roll, and Charlie indeed gets 2. So we roll a 6, 7.
8.
Okay, I'm going to re-roll a 1 for my supporting French battalion. So I'm on a 10. Difficult choice for Charlie now. Does he re-roll any of his?
Twice, so
You can? A 10. Going to re-roll again? No. Good choice.
It's just a combat.
So it's 10 against 10, so that's a draw. No, actually on a 0, so neither side have 1. I volley. I'm not a loser, so I don't go unformed, but I do just stop where I am and volley you. I do cause 1 casualty on the reservists.
The tree helped it.
The tree helped it. All right, normal movement. And who's got initiative this turn?
Me.
Charlie gets to move. Okay, so this is turn 6. So the Prussians will start retiring this turn because their brigade they are screening has now pulled back across their rear and is heading up towards Ligny. So this is turn 6, final turn for the French to try and break through. There will be some charges by the French, but Charlie has an evil look on his face. I think he might do a preemptive charge with some of his Prussians. We'll see. So Charlie does have initiative. The big French brigade is active. Over on the left flank, the Charlie's cavalry have successfully pinned the other brigade, and indeed it's hesitant, so we'll take no further part in the battle today. All right, Charlie.
Charging in.
He's charging. Oh, what, the unformed battalion or?
The unformed one.
Okay.
And this one's just charging in.
All right.
As you said.
And they don't have infantry assault, so only one can charge.
If you will never have a worse result, the charge will never have a worse result.
Yeah, no, but you can only charge with 1 battalion if you haven't got infantry assault.
I know they're both charging into there.
But you can only charge with 1 battalion. You've got 2.
Well, the landwehr probably need it more than
Okay.
these ones, and these ones also have support.
Up to you. You have a think which one you want to charge with.
These ones have a support too.
So they're in better state. All right. So the landwehr are charging in. So I get the opportunity of an unformed half-effect volley. I don't imagine this will go very well for the French. Let's see how they do. Not bad, a 7.
Nothing.
But a standard volley, unformed is a 1, half-effect is a half. So that does nothing. All right, let's roll the charge result for that. Okay, so the French have the advantage of 2 re-rolls being on defensive. Charlie doesn't get a re-roll because you don't get supports in attack if you don't have infantry assault off.
Oh no.
But I am on -3 for the French because we are unformed and we have 6 casualties. See how we do. Not great. Charlie gets a 7. I will re-roll. I'm on a 7 and then I will re-roll a 3. That's even worse, 2. So I'm on a 6. -3 is 3. You're on a 7. So you have won by 4, Charlie. You take the ground. I retreat with 1d3 casualties. So I'll take 3 more casualties.
The supports retreat with you.
Unfortunately, I think they do. So that was bad news. I really shouldn't have put those supports in hindsight because I've lost the supports for my attacking battalions. I should have just sacrificed that battalion and then countercharged with my other units. But anyway, we have 1 French battalion still trying to get in. It's got its commander. It's taken 4 casualties. Charlie, you got to do a defensive volley as they charge home.
You get a bonus dice for them being column.
And you get a bonus dice for them being in column. You roll a 5. That won't be very much. and you get nothing from your bonus dice. Well, it's not a lost cause yet. So a standard volley as a 5 is 1 casualty on the French. So there'll simply be a -1 modifier to this charge result, but you do get a reroll, Charlie, because you have your supporting battalion. The French get a 6, you get a 5, which stays at a 5.
You get -1 for casualty.
So that's a draw, so I stop and volley, which I don't cause a casualty on. So I stop at 3 inches distance. All right, so that's it. Another really quick scenario, small scenario. Hope you've enjoyed it. This was good fun, wasn't it, Charlie? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
The Prussians did well. They only had 3 battalions, but they did have the 2 cavalry units. That did allow them to keep this French brigade in check. But they were still fighting off 5 French line battalions here. I think I made a very clumsy choice there when Charlie did his counterattack. It really was a brilliant move, Charlie. It swung the game. I erroneously threw my supports in, which stopped my last assault of the game on turn 6. And the Landwehr threw back the French, which is exactly which...
Should I roll to see what happened if you had support, if you had 1 support?
If I had 1 support, what?
If you had support, should I roll to see what would have happened if you
Well, I didn't have support, Charlie.
If you didn't commit them to your
Don't worry,
charge.
don't worry. We'll do that off camera. But yeah, just like in real life, the counterattack by the Landwehr battalion did cause the French to recoil, and the Prussians pulled off their retirement towards their position at Ligny the next day. So Charlie again has repeated history. The Prussians have done well here and held off this French assault. I think another nice example of how the General d'Armée rules work pretty well on a small scale game. We've only got, 5, 6, 7, 8 French battalions, 3 Prussian battalions and 2 Prussian cavalry units on the table today. This is only on a 6x4 table, but it's been a really fun, nice, quick game. How long have we been playing, Charlie? Probably only about 3/4 of an hour, haven't we? Half an hour?
20 minutes?
Yeah, really quite quick. All right, cheers everyone, and we'll see you next time.